Hello and welcome to another episode of GoodCast, a podcast produced by Goodwill North Central Texas. It's a show where we take a closer look at the story behind the store and highlight successes that are made possible thanks to the generous donations of everyday people. I love a good story. Who doesn't? Part of our job here in community engagement is to share the stories of folks who go through our programs and have made notable strides both professionally and personally. We do this through our social media, news releases, and in videos like our Thank You Goodwill series, which you might remember from our bonus episodes last year. This year, Thank You Goodwill makes a triumphant return with 3 additional stories, the first of which has already been released and features STARS participant Ashley Maybe. These videos, for the most part, are produced by Westsider Media, so I thought it would be cool to chat about how they're made, what kind of things go on behind the scenes, and why it's important that we share these stories in a meaningful and authentic way. So let's get started.
My name is Candace Cooper. I'm the principal and producer at Westsider Media here in Fort Worth.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been in production?
I have been in production for a little over a decade now. Kind of got into it just by evolution of the media world, to be honest. My first job out of school, I was actually a field editor for an equestrian magazine, which meant I was a writer and photographer. I was super passionate about photography and not, I hated the writing part. It didn't come natural to me. But I love photography and left that job and started freelancing and got into graphic design. And then by nature of the media of the world, everybody wanted video. So it was kind of one of those sink or swim things. So just put all the pieces together and learned about film production and storytelling. And here we are.
For sure. Did you start off as like a one-person production team, or did you have like folks you could kind of bounce off?
Yeah, I had a couple people that I used to work with here in Fort Worth, and just Fort Worth's still a small enough town, and we're pretty tight knit, I would say, film community, and everyone's always super helpful and willing to lend a hand on projects, or hey, I don't know about this. Do you know anybody that can help me? So it's been a really nice community to try to learn the trade. And I moved here from Austin. And, Austin's a little bit overwhelming. I mean, there's so much going on down there, but Fort Worth was still small enough at the time and still is. You can always find somebody willing to lend a hand or help out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, DFW, I feel like within the last decade and a half, maybe, really blew up as far as documentaries and short films. I went to UTA for their film program, and they really stress the importance of local festivals and stuff like that. So it's very cool. Everybody knows each other. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, it is. And it's so funny. I'll be on a shoot, and if there's, 1 or 2 new people that you haven't worked with before, it always evolves into you start working with people, and it's your network starts getting bigger and bigger, but it always starts out organically like that. I guess I should say, I don't think I've ever put out a crew call. It's always been some sort of organic connection through the network here in Fort Worth.
Yeah, just all word of mouth.
Yeah.
Is there a particular aspect of video production that you like? Do you enjoy being behind the camera, directing, editing? What sticks out to you?
My primary role is producer, director. Editing is always the hard part because it's trying to narrow it down, I guess, so to speak. So I have a tremendous admiration for the craft, and I do edit sometimes, but I think my favorite part is just being on set, and especially in these the Goodwill stores, which I would call them essentially just kind of micro documentaries. I love talking to people and hearing their stories and just trying to connect with them in a way where they feel comfortable to be their authentic self. And I always have in the back of my mind of who the audience is and trying to pull out of them something that, somebody else could connect to. That's absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite part.
For sure. Because it can be an intimidating process. I know the the running joke with people in production is like, there's a reason why we're behind the camera and not in front of it.
Yeah. I like asking the questions. I don't like answering.
Right. So how did you get involved with Goodwill?
I was thinking about this earlier. So it was, either 2012 or 2013. I can't remember. I was working on a project for Fort Worth Business Press, and it was called Meet the Boss. And we were basically doing these little profiles on CEOs around Fort Worth, and just kind of a get to know you, what's your business about, and then a personal element to it. And David, your guys' CEO, was one of our profiles, and I had absolutely no idea going into that interview. I'm just like a lot of other people that I'm sure you guys encounter every day that just thought Goodwill was a thrift store. And man, I was just blown away by that interview that day and hearing about all the different things that they offered. And, he's such a charismatic, like great speaker. Like you could tell like how passionate he was about the mission. And that was my first introduction to really what all Goodwill does. And then obviously met Shay during that same project, and she reached out, I don't know, like a year or so later, and said, "Hey, are you interested in putting together our success stories?" And I was like, absolutely. Like, since I'd already had the introduction, and knew what the bigger picture was, I was super excited to get to work on these.
Cool. So that was the beginning of Thank You, Goodwill.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. How has the series kind of evolved since you've worked on it?
Just from a technical standpoint, camera technology and all that stuff has changed rapidly. I looked back at one of the videos from my first year now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's 10 different things that I would have done so different if we were doing that today, just as far as like how we set the interview up, or the music bed was way too loud, or just things like that
right.
You look back and how much you've improved our craft on our end. But I don't know. I mean, the stories, are all they all have a similar theme still. I think, it's, a story of triumph or overcoming, a hardship, or, just really, finding someone's purpose.
Do any of them stand out as a favorite to you?
Each one of them is just kind of special in their own way. Like, it's always so humbling to me when people will feel comfortable enough to open up to you and tell you what they've been through. And I just feel like a tremendous amount of responsibility. Like, you feel like the, kind of guardian of their story, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Reed really sticks out to me of such an incredible story, and what he went through when his brother passed away at such a young age. And I'm still friends with Brandon on social media, so I get to, watch him out there growing his business. And so that's one that really sticks out. Randy Vines, that was another one. Like, just what an endearing, comeback story that he had, and just like a path to redemption with his family. Every one of them's unique. And I think, my mom has been a special education teacher for 38 years. Mm-hmm. And the STARS program is always a soft spot for me, because I think it's so incredible, and it's such an important message that having a purpose in life, of whatever the capacity is just so critical. And like, everyone has a gift and a skill that they can give back, and watching the STARS participants, find a purpose and just light up, that's always a really special moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my favorite aspects about the Thank You Goodwill series is that we always do like an in-person premiere with the subject of each video. And so we usually invite, either their coworkers or family and friends. Some of them, we premiere at Project Goodwill, where there's a huge audience, and like seeing the person's face as they're watching this finished product, and kind of having that realization that like they are a success story is very cool.
Oh my gosh. I can't, it's been several years ago. The first time I got to go to Project Goodwill, and I can't remember even whose story it was that they premiered there. Yes, exactly what you just said. It's just like seeing their face and just seeing like, man, like I made it. I got to the other side, like just this pride. Like it was just, it still gives you goosebumps to think about it. It's awesome. I love watching someone that's got the fortitude to say, you know what, I want more and I'm capable more and I'm going to put in the hard work, and then just to get to see the reward at the end, it's incredible.
And hardly ever a dry eye. Like at least someone is crying.
Yeah. And the standing ovation, it's just like, man, it's like the Hollywood spotlight moment. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we showed Randy's video this year because, his video was in 2019, and then we had 2 years where we didn't have Project Goodwill, so he never really got that opportunity to watch his. We did it at campus, but it was kind of a smaller affair, and so he genuinely seemed very appreciative, and that was very sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, he was such a good interview.
What would you consider the most important part of sharing other folks' stories? And you kind of touched on it, or at least the things that stood out while you were talking were the feeling of safety and just authenticity with the final product.
Yeah, I think I always have in the back of my mind when we're interviewing for these, and obviously when we're editing them, of I just want to create something that some people can connect to. I want them to see one of these stories and say, man, if they can do it, so can I. And I'm stronger than I think I am. Or, if it's not someone that's seeking some guidance in that perspective of, someone else in the community that's what an incredible story. I had no idea that Goodwill is so much more than this. But I think more than anything, I just want someone to look at it and say, man, if they can do it, so can I. And hopefully inspire them to have the strength to do it for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love getting to catch up with some of these folks and asking hey, do you ever share your video? And it's oh yeah, all the time. That's really cool.
That's great. I laugh every time. Brandon, he's so funny on social media, and it cracks me up. He reshares the video every once in a while, but his the billboard.
Oh yeah, and he's a big fan of the billboard.
Cracks me up. So funny.
It's very smart on it. It ties into his business. It's a good opportunity.
Oh, he's the perfect poster child, so to speak, literally and figuratively. Mm-hmm. And it's so humbling and inspiring. It makes my day when I see him post about his business. And it's owning your own business is hard. I mean, it's everything that he's been through and worked his tail off to get to where he's at. And then, having to run your own business on top of that. And then the last couple of years through COVID, I know it's not been easy. I'm self-employed. I get it. And mm-hmm. It makes my day every time I see him post something funny. It's awesome.
What do you think is the importance of collaborative storytelling for our community, either with Goodwill or just in general with the work that you do?
It's all about different perspectives, right? And I think that's what's unique for what I do for a living. And it's more I would say corporate documentary storytelling, so to speak, is you do get to collaborate with different voices. It's not hey, I'm sitting down and writing the script and here's my story and this is how we're going to produce it. I'm always fascinated to walk into a situation, and in Goodwill's case, you guys have an intimate knowledge, obviously, of everyone's stories and the background. And then we walk in from a completely different perspective. And I just think it's critical to have both sides of those to produce something that's compelling to a bigger audience. It's sometimes we're all guilty of talking within our own echo chambers. Mm-hmm. And it's just a really cool opportunity for me. I've gotten to know and meet so many different people in the community and get exposed to so many different types of businesses and cultures and backgrounds that most people don't get to. And it's just a really unique experience that I think it's a big part of why I love what I do.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any fun, like, behind the scenes stories from Thank You Goodwill?
Shay reminded me this year. I can't. Do you know which baseball team is Jody's team?
Oh gosh, I can't remember.
Okay, well, he is not a Rangers fan.
Right.
So I had on a Texas Rangers cap the day that we did his interview, and he absolutely refused to talk to me. He was not having it on any level. And yeah, that was priceless.
That's funny. He's worked here he's still here. He's worked here for forever.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And it was like, I can't remember at the time we did it, but it was like the number of days in a row that like he'd never missed work. It's amazing. And again, and it's like, what a testament to, if people can find a purpose and find joy in that, it just turns your entire life in a different direction. It's beautiful.
Well, and speaking of like Brandon's video, that footage in his gym, I'm sure was like super fun to get.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was fun and that's not something that we've had the opportunity to do that much. And he was unique because he had a place for us, his work. It was not on site there at Goodwill. So it was an opportunity for us to go into his space and see him in his element and really get a firsthand glimpse at some of his clients and friends in there and see their faces light up and like what a positive influence that he is for them. That was really fun.
What did you enjoy most about this year's production? I
think every year, it's so hard to, like I said, to single out any of these stories because I think each year, like it's almost like a back to center moment for me. Every year that we get to do these, like I believe so much in the mission of Goodwill. It is like every year I find something else to be inspired about, and hearing some of the struggles that everyone's been through, it's a good back to center moment for me every year. Like I said, I had no idea that Goodwill encompassed like more than just the thrift store, and it's been just such a blessing, to sound cheesy if I can, every year to get to be a part of it, because I just think it's so inspiring. I love people that, willing to take a chance and share their story. And I think it's just such a good reminder that, there's help out there if you want it. And we do have a support system if you're willing to work and put in the hard work, and it's pretty awesome. So,
was that y'all's first time at the Grapevine Stars facility?
No, we had been there a couple years ago when we did Mary's story.
Oh, that's right.
That place is just so neat. It's fun to watch people that have such a passion for what they do, and I think it's like all the different. That facility is just incredible, and it's practical, and it's just really neat to watch the participants kind of move throughout their day in there. And I don't know who put that program together, but man, it's fantastic.
And they're like bursting at the seams. They had to expand their facilities. They have like a whole basketball court now, like.
Oh, I know. Shay said that there's a waiting list, and it's like, yeah, obviously it's gaining in notoriety and popularity.
All right. Do you have any fun or exciting projects coming up that you'd like to talk about?
We are currently working on a series for Lone Star Ag Credit, which is a kind of farm and agricultural lending institution here in Texas. And we're doing a series of customer spotlights where we're getting to go to different farms and ranches and kind of learn about their operation. So once again, getting to meet a lot of different people, different backgrounds, and learn about what they do and tell their story for them and try to put it out there into the masses and see what happens.
And that's going to do it for us here today. Thank you once again to Candace for speaking with me and for all the hard work your crew does to help us share these incredible stories. If you'd like to check out Thank You Goodwill for yourself, you can go to thankyougoodwill.org. We'll see you in the next episode. You have been listening to GoodCast, a podcast produced by Goodwill North Central Texas. To stay up to date on all things Goodwill NCT, be sure to check out our social media and sign up for our newsletter. And if you have a second, we'd appreciate it if you could share the show with a friend or leave us a review on iTunes. It is the fastest way to help the show grow. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts.